Now, the Guide to Your Ride podcast, presented by the Southern Tug Hill Snow Riders, Saratoga Snowmobile Association, and Hamburg Snowmobile Club.
And finally, we have some stuff to talk about on the Guide to Your Ride podcast here at UpstateSnow.com. The podcast is sponsored by our friends at the Water's Edge Inn in Old Forge, New York, conveniently located at Trail 1 and 5. You ride your snowmobiles there. There's all kinds of deals at Water's Edge Inn and in associated properties. Check out watersedgeinn.com for more. We thank them for being sponsors of the Guide to Your Ride podcast. It's January 13th, 2022. The Commander, let's see here. I was trying to think of something really catchy and really amazing to introduce Chris Rink, the president of the Southern Tug Hill Snow Riders, coming to us live from Southern Tug Hill, where you got about 2 feet of snow out there and the sled's ready to go.
Yeah, what's going on, Rich? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Obviously all jazzed up. Now that we actually have some riding to talk about, you've had a chance to get out there and help to groom the Southern Tug Hill Snow Rider trails. You've been in contact with people from the different neighboring clubs all around you, the southern part of Tug Hill, also into the approaches to the south of Tug Hill, getting down towards Rome, getting down towards Camden, getting down closer to Utica where the snow cover begins to thin out pretty quickly. So Guide to Your Ride podcast is exactly that. It's the Guide to Your Ride. There's a lot of people that have already come up there to trailer and to snowmobile. There's a lot of people that are going to want to come up there and trailer later today and into tomorrow and into this weekend. Now, the weekend forecast, especially Friday night and Saturday, brutal cold, bitter cold, below zero. Definitely go riding, but have a partner with you, be a little bit more planning with that. But between now and as that bitter Arctic air starts to pour back in tomorrow, for folks that want to get up there, tell us how the trails are right now, who's open, who's closed, what's the big stuff that we need to keep our eyes on?
Sounds good. So it's no secret, right? The area saw heavy snow. The heaviest snows definitely fell just a little bit west of this area. Kind of out towards that Osceola, just general region. Probably the height was in the 25 to 30 inch range. I heard a report of 33 inches out in Osceola. It was a light, fluffy snow. Here in Southern Tug, we range from probably 15 to 25 inches, depending on where you are. So what's that mean? Heavy snow across the area. Pretty good general, band of snow fell, for most of Sunday and Monday. But with that, it was no secret, the storm. So yesterday and then today, it's Wednesday night, just before 9 o'clock, traffic is up. Traffic has been heavy. It looked like a Saturday out there today. We also did warm up. We're in the high 20s right now. We actually have some rain. And frankly, the trails aren't holding up yet. It's no secret. We kind of warned people on our social media pages, and all the other clubs are doing the same thing. We were telling people it's going to take a couple days to kind of get things into shape, and here we are. We're kind of 2 days out of the storm. Most of the trails have been groomed once or twice, I would say, and things are starting to set up nicely. But at the same time, too, this is our first snow of the year. So the moral of the story is that your seasonal roads, your kind of wide open freeways of snowmobile trails in good snowmobile areas are going to be in good to excellent shape. All of your wooded trails, your meadows, your fields, your road crossings and stuff like that, it's going to be a little bit more, it's going to be marginal. We're seeing increased traffic. We're expecting a very, very busy Thursday and Friday and through the weekend, with no real snow to speak of until the end of the weekend, which hopefully you'll catch us up on. So that's kind of the general rule of thumb. Is unfortunately you're not going to see pristine midwinter conditions this weekend. It's just not going to shape up. But there's definitely some enjoyable riding out there. You're definitely going to be able to go click off 100 miles or 150 or even 200 if you're really, really, really aggressive. But it's just not going to be pristine yet. You're going to hit excellent sections, and then you're going to hit some poor sections. I can kind of tell you, going around the horn, real quick, just kind of the general consensus of talking to some neighboring clubs and some neighboring folks that are out there doing the same thing me and my club are. And then kind of doing a quick, study via Facebook and see what some other clubs are doing on the outskirts. Is, kind of starting up top, Barnes Corners, Winona. That's really as high as you want to go. There's really no snow anywhere north of that or really anywhere east of that. Coming back around through Montague, the Valley, Rory and his crew are doing a great job on the seasonal roads. They actually didn't get as much snow out of this lake effect event, but their seasonal roads are rideable. They are grooming. They're out grooming tonight. So hats off to them. Coming back through High Market, through Turns Trails, all of your high stuff, all your seasonal roads is excellent, excellent, excellent. High Market probably has some of the best snow and coverage right now, but then dropping down into the turn by the edge, down by Boondocks and Stewart's down there, and getting off the hill, it's going to get thin. It's starting to brown up already, 6 or 8 inches, but Turn's doing the best they can. Getting over towards Branningham, they have snow, they're open, but no grooming. They do have some trail closures over there, so please check their Facebook page. Please touch base with that club over there to figure out what's rideable and what's not. Through West Leyden, we're pretty good. We are getting a little thin as we get on the Boonville side, but as we get on the Swampscott Mills and High Market side, we're in much better shape. Dropping down into Lee Center, their trails are open but thin. A lot of wooded trails down there, not so many seasonal roads. They are moving some groomers up to the milk plant, but just be leery that some of their wooded trails might be a little bony, a little rocky. And then kind of getting over west towards Camden's and Williamstown and Parrish, more of the same. Probably your seasonal roads, your better trails are going to be in pretty good shape, but wooded trails are going to deal with a little mud, a little rock, a little tree banging here and there. So that's pretty much the consensus throughout. The clubs are doing the best they absolutely can. A lot of clubs, this is the first time out, so they're dealing with some breakdowns. Obviously, there's never enough volunteers and there's never enough equipment. So please be patient. And just let these clubs continue to work their butts off and get ready for a holiday weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we continue south and east. Lost Trail in the Boonville area, they've gotten through, especially on the canal feeder from Boonville over to Forestport. They're set and ready to go. But as you mentioned, the snow cover is definitely a little bit thinner there, even though they did get about 10 to 15 inches of snow. As you mentioned, very fluffy snow, so that packs down really quickly. It's not the real dense nor'easter type snow, which again I'll talk about in just a little bit here towards the end of the podcast here.
I personally rode today, Rich, from West Leyden to Boonville. I had to go into town to take care of some banking for the club, so I figured I'd jump on the sled, and it's definitely thin in Boonville. It's going to last the weekend. But it's thin, and you're scraping along till you hit Southern Tugs trails. So for those people that are kind of on the Boonville or a little bit east of Boonville, and you have the ability to trailer over, it might be more enjoyable for you to trail over and park at a Smith Road, park at a Barrows, park at a Mud Lake, park somewhere on that kind of 26 quarter. You're going to save a little carbide and a little headache.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the same thing for Penn Mountain. That's the same thing for Ohio. It's the same thing for Trackside in Forestport. It's the same thing for Stratford. It's the same thing Powley Road heading up to Pasico. Those trails are rideable. There are people riding those trails. There's definitely a lot more traffic on those trails, but it's not as good as the snow that you have on the southern half of the Tug Hill, especially. One more good storm would really set up everything great and set you up for some really long rides up through there. Same thing for Old Forge and into the Old Forge system and into Inlet as well. If anything, Old Forge Inlet, especially towards Big Moose, especially Moose River Plains Inlet, definitely thin, definitely very snurty, a lot more carbide in those areas. And getting up and towards Indian Lake, talking to Darren from IL Snow earlier, it's just kind of catch as catch can right now. You can ride a little bit, but it's definitely nowhere near prime conditions right now. So we've expanded the playground tremendously. Instead of just the hill proper, we've got a lot more clubs to play with, but the clubs that we have to play with, this is the beginner type snow. We're still 3, 4, 5 weeks behind where we should be and where we want to be, but there is help and there is hope. It's cold. That's helping to freeze things up. That's helping to lock things down. Granted, it's not as cold right now, but once the temperatures really drop off Friday and into Saturday, that's going to help to really freeze things down. And then Sunday afternoon and Sunday night and into Monday, the nor'easter. That I will talk about here. And basically just to say this, there is going to be a nor'easter. Upstate New York will be hit by something. The question right now is not whether or not upstate New York gets hit with a nor'easter. The question is right now specifically what. The models are still all over the place with this and are going to be all over the place for probably about another day or two. They're really not going to come to a consensus until probably Friday and especially Saturday. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's just the way it is. I'm not even going to issue a snowfall map for Martin Luther King Day until Saturday. We got to get this within 72 to 84 hours, okay? Now, one thing that you can't, really appreciate with my position here in Greenville, South Carolina, is just how nuts the forecasting is down here, because I'm on the southern end of where your snow for Sunday night and into Monday is coming from. It hits here first. One model brings it west, one model brings it south. What happens between that? Well, if it goes to the west, it's an ice storm. If it goes to the south, it could potentially be a top 10 snowfall since 1950 here. Some of the model numbers that have been spit out here in the upstate of South Carolina and in the western Carolinas are absolutely eye-popping and mind-boggling. Some model runs. The European is the greatest offender of this. The European is my favorite model. And I'm just being honest, I'm honestly pulling for the European. But all the other model guidance is kind of following towards GFS and is kind of, European is the coldest, farthest south and east, and is right now staying as more the outlier. Does it win, or does it ultimately come back to where the other models are starting the bullseye right now? That is the discrepancy for this weekend down here and for the beginning of next week up there in upstate New York. And that's why we just need time. Not all meteorologists can call these snowstorms 4, 5, 6 days out with laser precision accuracy. This storm is still 3,000 miles away. We need to get this a lot closer before we can, accurately call where it's going to hit on the target.
Is it going to be all snow?
Is it going to be all snow? Well, I'm just going to tell you right now, that's the real big issue, is the fact that there could be some mix. If the other model runs like the GFS, the Canadian, and, if they start to trend more that way, the storm center is going to come more inland. The storm center is going to come up 95, possibly up Interstate 81. And if that's the case, you get a couple of inches of snow, then a mixed mess, and then you end of snow, and then you have lake effect on the back end of it. So the lake effect that comes in back of it Monday night and into Tuesday could actually be better than the actual storm on Monday if that more westerly track happens. Now, if the more southeasterly track happens, it'll be a heavier snow event, and you'll still get the lake effect in back of that, but that lake effect will be aimed more west-northwesterly, more towards Utica, Syracuse, and more towards your direction, whereas if the storm tracks up closer to Syracuse, then that will be more from your neck of the woods up, just based on how the wind patterns are going around these storms. So again, that's why it's all about the track, man. And at 4, 5, 6 days out, you're trying to hit an elk from a half mile away with a rifle. It's a very hard thing to do accurately. I would rather be accurate than be the first one to throw a map up at this point. You know how I roll, and I'm going to be straight with you. Everyone who's followed me on Upstate Snow for 10 years and me as a meteorologist for 25 know I'm going to give you the facts. I report, you decide.
Awesome. Well, at this rate in this winter, I mean, we'll be hitting almost towards the end of January. We need more snow, so hopefully that's the case. This is a wonderful start for us. This freeze down this weekend is really, really going to help us shape some things up. And if we can put 6 to 12 inches or even 1.5 feet of snow next week on top of this thing, we're looking great into the end of January and stuff like that. So just to kind of wrap it up for us, the best riding is definitely going to be High Market West, High Market Southwest. So your TC Rider seasonal roads, your High Market seasonal roads, your Osceola seasonal roads, they're struggling with equipment issues right now, but they're going to get that straightened out and they'll be all right. Moving out towards Redfield, those are the best spots with the best snow and kind of the best conditions. Hit it in the morning you can. It's going to be very, very busy, like we said, and let's look forward to a positive cold winter weekend, followed by a really snowy winter week next week, and the last couple weekends of January through February will be great for us.
Yes, certainly hoping so, I appreciate you jumping on with the knowledge from the clubs. The president of the Southern Tug Hill Snow Riders is Chris Rink. Thank you so much for joining me from your very nicely decked out garage there. You got you're ready for every season. You're ready for whatever, whenever up there, and I so appreciate the fact that you're ready. Thank you so much for your contribution to the Guide to Your Ride podcast this week. Keep it shiny side up.
Thanks, Rich. Have a good night.
All right, excellent. This has been the Guide to Your Ride podcast for January 13th, 2022, brought to you by Water's Edge Inn in Old Forge. Check out their lodging deals at watersedgeinn.com. I'm meteorologist Rich Lupia for UpstateSnow.com, and I will see you soon on the trails.
Thanks for listening. For more podcasts and videos, visit upstatesnow.com.